Good morning, folks. Welcome back to Threes and Bobo here. So in the mid-'80s, we had two exchange officers from Great Britain show up, Bill Hartree and Nick Willey. Great guys these guys were. Just a lot of fun to be with, fun to fly with, fun to party with, just great guys to hang out with. So when they showed up, we had to give them a quick checkout in the T-38 so that they would be pilot proficient. Then we could put them into the instructor pilot part of the program. Okay, so that's where we are here in this as this story takes off. They both completed the required rides and they're coming up for a check ride. Now, a check ride, a peak wall check in this phase is relatively straightforward, really kind of easy, if you will. Not a lot of requirements. You just do a simulate a single engine approach and landing, a no flap overhead and a normal overhead. You go out the area, you do just a couple basic stalls and falls and recoveries, nose high, nose low recovery, and maybe a couple other odds and ends. But that's about it. We could have done aerobatics, well that's fine, but they've been doing them already, so I mean they're not required in check rides, so what's the point? So I got to talking with Rick Lanier, a very, very dear friend of mine. I met Rick first at Vance, and I just love the guy. Great guy. So I said to Rick, hey, Rick, I said, what if we take these two guys out on their proficiency checks and kind of get together and give them a formation ride intermixed with the ride. We can go do the individual things required for the check ride, but then fill the rest of it with a two-ship ride. He said, great idea. So that's kind of what we did. We took these two guys out, and I can't quite recall the exact details of it, but we filled the squares for the contact checks and then came together for a bit of formation. And boy, we had a lot of fun doing that with tactical and extended trail and this, that, and the other. And then we went back and did our basic overhead normal pattern and no flat pattern and came back for a full stop, and none was the wiser. Wrote it up as a contact check, and nobody was ever the wiser. So be it. So these guys, I don't remember what the length of their tour. Typically, exchange tour was 2 years. So come around 1986 or so, these guys are getting ready to head back. They were there a little longer than that, if I recall, because Bill Hartree flew on my Finney flight in 1988. At any rate, Nick might have gone home earlier, I don't remember. But on Nick's Finney flight, I thought it was Bill Hartree's, but now I don't think it was. But on Nick's Finney flight, again, we put together a scenario worthy of him remembering. There was Nick and I and Bo Montgomery, and I can't remember who the fourth was, but we coordinated with the RSU controller over at Seguin, where our auxiliary field, and we took off and on a two-ship formation, and then we flew two-ship over to Seguin. We're about 8 minutes away, maybe. And when we got on formation final at Seguin, we kind of split apart like this, and we checked on. We coordinated. If no one was around, we got a click on a microphone. So we got that, and we lowered the nose on formation, and as we started down the glide path, sucked up the gear and the flaps and went into reheat, as the Brits call afterburner. And then we went smoking by that RSU right on the deck, 450 knots or so. I don't remember what it was. I didn't look at the airspeed that way. It was fun. It was past the speed of fun, put it that way. So we went smoking down the runway, and we got the runway, just stood both these airplanes on their tails and went up and then on out the area. Never said anything to the observer. From what I remember, the controller was sitting there watching us. He was having a ball watching us come at him and watching us accelerate. The observer's job was to watch the departure, and apparently as we went by the RSU, one on each side of the RSU, it rattled his cage a little bit. Bill's character, you know. So anyway, we went out the area and then got into a few advanced maneuvers, if you will. What we did is we got into the area and at an altitude, I'm thinking something like 12,000 feet, 300 knots or so. And each of us took a 45-degree turn off a specific heading. And when we got to a mile spacing, we turned inbound. Now, one of us went down to like 11.5 and the other one stayed at 12. And then as we passed a beam each other here, the fight was on. And so we just both went vertical, scrambling for sky, burners, and turning and this, that, and the other. I think we had 3 engagements. And Bo, having flown F-15s, had a little bit of an advantage over Nick and I, but it's still fun to watch. At any rate, then you get on each other's tail or whoever won. Click, click, it means, okay, knock it off. Okay. Rejoin, went down, did it again. Okay. 3 engagements of those, we're out of gas. So we came back to Randolph and landed. God, that was fun. 0.7, if I remember right. I suppose, look through my flight records and find a ride of 0.7 and begin to put it together. I might do that later on. But then again, I just might not. When you're doing something like that, and you're having so much fun, even having fun sitting here telling you about it, you almost feel a little tinge of guilt that maybe I shouldn't have done that. But maybe I did it so I'd have a good story to tell you today. That being said, this is don't do it. I'm not endorsing this, okay? As they say, don't try this at home. But damn, it was fun. Bobo basically stop.